Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation today. It's entitled Sustainability Education in the UK Construction Industry. Are universities preparing construction professionals for a sustainable future? And this is me on the left, Greg Watts. That's my email address and my pre-pandemic picture. And I wrote this paper with Nikki Harris, also of Salford there. So I'm a director of the Quantity programme and Nikki of the CPM programme. So to start off with, the image on the left represents the construction industry. So it roughly, I'll start with a definition, I suppose. The construction industry incorporates everything in this instance of planning, building, maintaining, and then ultimately demolishing any built asset infrastructure, anything in engineering. And the industry in the UK represents around 9% of the economic output, the GDP. It's around 99 billion, approximately 2 million jobs depend on the industry. And contrary to belief of some people who operate within construction, it is a multidisciplinary and collaborative environment that's dependent upon successful teams. Your successful construction team more likely to have a successful project. So it's all around this collaborative and interdependent nature. Although obviously some people do prefer to go it alone, if you like, and don't really collaborate very well. That's not what we teach at university, and it's not the skill set that is required to be a successful construction professional. Now, the industry itself used to be focused heavily around time, cost, and quality. So when it was procuring works and when it was trying to achieve projects, that achievement was judged successful if it hit the criteria of on time, to the right quality, and on cost. But that's been changing over recent years. So now there's an increased focus all around sustainability. And that's what that top right image represents there. Now, sustainability, sustainable development is roughly defined as being able to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And it can be represented by sustainable development goals, which is an initiative over the last few years that's looked to, again, push that agenda of sustainable development forward. But it has been growing as a concept right since Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1962, all around environmentalism and pollution and pesticides. The concept's been growing and growing in importance over the last few years. And now say it's reached this modern sustainable development goals, climate change, CO2 emissions, things like that we're all aware of. It's talked about every day in the press. But how do we make these two issues relate? How do we get the construction industry start addressing sustainable issues? And arguably, it comes down to the professionals within the industry, these multidisciplinary, over 2 million people in the industry. Now, people come from all different backgrounds into the industry. That's acknowledged. That's fantastic about it. But arguably, some of the leaders of the companies now and the leaders of the companies of the future are construction graduates. That's what the image on the top represents there. So the construction graduates are the one who are going to be leading the industry in the future. And so if we've got any hope of positively contributing to the sustainable development goals, of positively contributing to the sustainable needs of the planet, then we're looking at the graduates to really push that agenda forward. And graduates ultimately come from universities, don't they? You get a degree in different places these days, but ultimately we're still looking at universities. Now, what graduates learn at university is therefore arguably of the utmost importance, because that's the knowledge and the skill set they're taking out into industry. They're the guidelines and the factors and the information, the frameworks they've got in their mind for learning. This is what they take out and apply to industry. So we do have a concept of CPD, so continuous professional development, represented there by the textbook on the left. And that is a concept that's embraced in some aspects of the industry, but there has been reports over recent years focus on different things, but all come back to underpinning industry professionals, industry organisations are not great at focusing on CPD. They're not great at encouraging continuous development and learning, which is why that textbook came out, to try and address this gap. But the industry is not great at it. So university is the ideal place at present where we've got a captive audience, and we dictate as academics ultimately what university students and graduates learn and cover. That this is the ideal scenario to really ensure that the fundamentals, the core issues are addressed at university to prepare graduates for current and future demands. And we know that we have 3 levels to university degrees, 4, 5 and 6. There's 120 credits at each level, but you can break that down to different modules. So sometimes you can have modules with 40 credits, 30 credits, 20 credits, 15 credits, etc. But all adding up to 120 credits ultimately means that a student gets 360 credits, they then graduate. So it's within these credits, within these modules that we're looking now, this research is positioned about what is the topic of these modules, what is covered within these modules. So the aim of this paper, this research, is to understand sustainability education. So sustainability is a very important concept, very important topic. We're looking at how is it taught and delivered to construction students. So not specific sustainability degrees, but in everyday construction degrees, how is it taught? So we're looking at a qualitative content analysis of 20 different job profiles. So we selected CPM and QS graduate vacancies, and we looked at these 20 job roles, these adverts, did a qualitative content analysis to see what were the main aspects and main required criteria for graduates when they're applying for these jobs. We then looked at 5 different universities that offered CPM and QS courses and looked at their modules and the constituent parts of these modules across level 4, 5 and 6. So 5 universities, all their modules for CPM and QS across levels 4, 5 and 6, and we did a qualitative content analysis on those modules. We then conducted 6 interviews with in-house HR professionals at construction main contractors, and we talked about the findings of the qualitative content analysis, the findings of what this showed us when we analysed job vacancies, job roles and adverts, when we analysed university modules, and we did a narrative analysis of their results. So what did it actually teach us and what did we find out? Well, table 1 shows there, this illustrates all the CPM and QS modules that were identified across these 5 universities that aligned with the requirements of these job descriptions. So when we looked all into the requirements, what's listed in a job description, these matched perfectly with what's taught under these modules at universities. So this is a successful table, if you like. This is universities teaching graduates exactly what's required according to the job roles of the positions they're going for all CPM and QS students. Table 2, however, this shows the requirements of jobs that we couldn't directly match to any of the modules and any of the module descriptors and any of the information contained about those modules. So we couldn't find anywhere anything about confidence or anything about negotiation, yet these are core required skills according to these job descriptions. But this is not a massive problem when you look into these in some detail, because although communication and interpersonal skills might not be a specific requirement of a module, the general university experience will build these skills. Not all of these, like chairing meetings, etc. That's a skill that's required that perhaps arguably if a graduate shouldn't be, but nevertheless that's something that is not taught and not covered arguably. But things like a can-do attitude, being proactive, these are things that come with the general university experience. Table 3, however, this reveals the items and the areas and the concepts that are taught and that are asked for, yet the HR professionals say they're still not up to standard. So in brackets, it tells you how many of the professionals we interviewed actually identified this. So a couple talked about risk, and they said, yep, graduates do learn all about risk at university, but it's not how we need them to do. It's not the information we need them to know, and so they come into our industry, into our companies, having learned about risk but not prepared for how we deal with risk and what we discuss about risk. And that's the same for 3, about innovation, 2, measurement and quantification. So that was all around graduates learning the basics but not actually knowing the advanced and 3D, 2D, BIM and things like that, not being fully aware of those techniques. But most stark and most importantly for this research, sustainability. So 4 out of the 5 HR professionals interviewed said that yes, sustainability is covered in some module requirements, but it's not to the need and the standard and requirement we have. We have a greater need for graduates to have a sustainability focused education than is currently provided. And so that's the ultimate finding of this research. You can read more about it in the paper, but we need to take knowledge of this, and we need to be aware of this, and take action and try and build on this in future and enhance the sustainability credentials of modules, so graduates have the best, most well-rounded, robust education ready to meet the requirements now and the requirements of the future. So thank you very much for a quick summary of the paper. My name is Greg Watts and my email is there. I'll be happy to answer any questions now or any questions in future. Thank you.